actually pretty neat. I haven't seen this picture before. This is an excellent picture.
Welcome to Antietam National Battlefield. You are standing at Stop 1 of the Cornfield Trail. Behind you in 1862 were the open fields of the Poffenberger Farm. Directly in front of you was a small woodlot known at the time as the North Woods. The National Park Service is currently replanting this woodlot. We have had over 10,000 volunteers plant 20,000 trees in an effort to restore the battlefield to look like it did in 1862. All day on September 16th, the two armies gathered for battle. Was some high ground known as Nicodemus Heights. That is the far left flank of the Confederate Army. Half of the Confederate cavalry is on the heights and behind it, and Jeb Stuart has placed over a dozen Confederate cannons on that high ground, directly on your right flank as you advance south. September 17th dawned cool and damp and foggy. The Union First Corps, commanded by General Joseph Hooker, over 8,000 men, will lead the assault south. Remember that it's open ground in front of you all the way to the cornfield, a half mile to the south. Hooker's men were up early. As one soldier, Private William Goodhue in the 3rd Wisconsin, remembered, it was the gray early morning when the sergeant major, walking rapidly along the line of sleeping men, soldiers in 1862. The fence line in front of you marks the northern boundary of the cornfield, which, by the way, is not always planted in corn. We lease your battlefield to local farmers, and they have to rotate their crops. The cornfield extended on your left from the East Woods over to the Hagerstown Turnpike on your right. Even before the main line of the First Corps reached this fence, the skirmishing had already begun in the East landscape in American military history. We are now the Hagerstown Turnpike runs north and south. On the other side of the turnpike, the historic West Woods. All of this ground in front of you was open the day of the battle. That farmhouse to your front right did not exist the day of the battle. That is all open ground. The park road directly in front of you that runs east and west, known as Cornfield Avenue, did not exist the day of the battle. That was built in the 1890s by the War Department. If you can imagine that park road filled with Confederate soldiers, almost 8,000 of Jackson's men, wow, and then just pushed those soldiers back about 100 yards, that's the main line of Confederate soldiers facing into the corn. It was here on this south edge of the cornfield is where the Battle of Antietam truly began in earnest.
It's not apologetic at all.
You got it, man. Excuse us. You got it. officer in charge is either dead or mortally wounded. So the Confederate structure is broken down anyway.
I think we waited for our pickup right here. Remember they loaded us into the horse trailers?
The defense of this crucial Antietam crossing. And fourth, we are going to talk about the plans that the Confederate commanders made to defend the bridge that would later become known as the Burnside Bridge. Every time I bring visitors to this spot, I always get the same two questions. Is that the real bridge? And why did they not just wade the creek? This bridge, before the battle, was known as the Rohrbach Bridge, named for Henry Rohrbach and his farm on the east side of the bridge. Military call.
Yes, apparently, because they said you get increased incidence of racing. You have to drive 2 vehicles.
Driven in the faces of the advancing column. The head of the column pushed on bravely but seemed to waver and literally melt away before such a murderous blast. In vain they attempted to gain the bluffs, which from end to end were enveloped in
I think that's stop number 10. On the auto tour.
extended for 3 miles to the north. The 16th and the 4th were slowed by the difficulty of trying to march through dense corn. Robert Holmes of the 16th Connecticut wrote that the regiment, quote, received no drill, no discipline, few instructions even in marching. It was little more than a crowd of earnest young Connecticut boys. George Merriman wrote, our position this time was in a large cornfield, the shot of our own and the enemy's batteries whistling and bursting.